Boom.
Man, he nailed it.
Oh,
he nailed it. If that
you gonna get it? Oh,
if that was a drum solo, would have crushed it. It's Monday night. It's 9 o'clock. That means it's time for the Live Zone Prime Time. I'm producer Chris. This is Tony P. Thank you so much for joining us, whether you're watching on Fox Local or Fox 5 DC's YouTube page. And of course, if you are watching on our YouTube page, the comment section is open. You can join the conversation.
Please be
Let
kind.
us know. Always.
We said on
Always.
Friday.
You know the rules. Keep it clean, keep it kind, and thank you for joining us. Tony P., how was your weekend?
I got to tell you, I mean, it was an incredible weekend. It was almost like out of a Nancy Meyers movie. I went to a Friendsgiving at a beautiful house in the suburbs.
Friendsgiving already. Oh
Perfectly
my goodness.
remodeled.
We are 10 days away.
Are we? Oh my. Yeah, we are.
10 days away from Thanksgiving, yeah.
And so I did that with some family and friends, and then we did, that was a whole night. And then we went out to the suburbs again.
Did you bring anything to
Oh,
the
I sure did.
What did you make?
So we brought a, it was a mushroom Wellington. That was really, really good. It was so tasty. It was, again, like the perfect, the crust was excellent. We're hosting a Friendsgiving this coming weekend. We're going to have Ina Garden style turkeys, chicken, the lemon chicken, and we're going to have her famous chocolate cake as well. I can't wait. We're decorating the whole house.
These are very non-traditional Thanksgiving. I mean,
this. You don't like turkey.
We could go down this. I mean, we just launched. We are 1 minute and 30 seconds into the show, and all of a sudden things have gone off the rails because we were who knows what we were even planning on talking about off the top tonight. But now we're talking about Tony P. and his non-traditional Thanksgiving. My weekend was good. It was a lot of getting ready, a lot of nursery work, if you will. And a lot of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, because life's all about balance. But no, I want to get into this for a second. Before we dive into our big stories tonight, I do want to ask. So this is a very non-traditional Thanksgiving. So what is your standard? You don't like turkey, you said?
I mean, okay. I like it when it's either smothered or it's like it has a little bit of, like a barbecue twist to it. I do like the deep fry, but it's very unsafe.
Interesting.
So we don't do it as a family.
That's fair. I respect that.
We do the smoked turkey breast at my mother's house, so we do mostly the Italian. That's why the pasta thing meant so much to us. We're losing
we talked
Italian
about
pasta,
that too.
But we have the pasta.
Macaroni and cheese is pasta, just remember.
I'll talk about that next week. But we have the Italian marinara sauce, the meat sauce, the sausages, the meatballs, everything. And then we have a small little turkey breast off to the side, just so we can check the box off and say we did it. Okay. Interesting. Then for Christmas we do a small roast, very, very small sirloin roast. Also sauce and meatballs again. So it's like
not complaining.
Any level?
No, I'm very traditional. I think so, I mean, Molly and I have done it together the last couple of years that we've been together. Very traditional menu. I mean, I think is the craziest that we get is, having two types of cranberry sauce, one homemade and one out of the can, because I need that terrible, can-shaped monstrosity that I take one slice from and then the rest.
Did you see Jell-O has a campaign?
I did, and I loved it.
It has little cans. That was the greatest.
I loved it. I think that is
great
brilliant.
branding.
Excellent.
That is how you brand for a product and for a marketing campaign.
All right, let us know if you think Tony P's Thanksgiving menu is crazy, if you like it, if you have any non-traditional Thanksgiving menu items. In the meantime, let's take a live look at Capitol Hill right now. The House back in session. The federal government back open. Lawmakers literally just minutes before we came on air wrapped up their work. They had a special order session, special order speeches. So this comes at the end of the legislative day, basically. If you're not familiar, during the special order period, individual representatives deliver speeches on topics of their choice, and they can do so for up to 60 minutes. See, this is the sort of like parliamentary stuff that I don't know anything about.
No, I mean, it's very interesting. So there's a lot of, so there's this whole phrasing that Speaker Johnson has used, and even former Democratic speakers like Nancy Pelosi, about this whole regular order thing. Well, that exists in the Senate as well as the House, even though we hear it a lot in the Senate. John McCain mentioned it for years. We have to get back to regular order, regular order. Well, this is part of that. So what will happen at the end of every legislative day is that all those speeches that you hear about when there's a policy issue, the viral moments, you're usually going to get it in these type of sessions. Right. Usually it's empty because the way Congress works, it isn't like everybody gets together at once and we have a school, a student government meeting or a school council thing. No, it's people are coming in and out. There are some folks that come out to support the bill. If they're working on stuff, they'll go vote together. But votes will stay open for a long time. Speaking sessions will stay open for a long time. And what will happen is in these special sessions, there'll be a speaker, which is not the actual speaker usually, but it'll be a presiding speaker that will be on top of things. And you'll talk and just give your pitch about something. You'll put resolutions that come up there, whether it be censures, which we've had a lot of those in the last few years, like censuring members of Congress. But now, especially with of course, the Jeffrey Epstein situation.
Well, we're going to get to that.
Yes,
we're going to get to that.
But those speeches, you're going to start seeing a lot of those as this vote comes up for the discharge petition. You'll see a ton of speeches, and you get 60 minutes. Uninterrupted.
That 60 minutes is what I was kind of leaning into, is for each representative. So those could go on for a long,
it's like a filibuster
time. Yeah, it was my gentle way of saying, if that had still been going on when we started the show, it would have been a little dry, like the turkey that Tony doesn't like on Thanksgiving.
Like C-SPAN, though.
Tomorrow, a much different story, because things could get much more interesting. And the reason why is because the House could vote on a bill to compel the Department of Justice to release the Epstein files tomorrow. That's what Tony was making reference to. And President Trump now says he will not only support the move, he will sign the bill if it makes it to his desk. He talked about this on Truth Social over the weekend, and then he talked about it again today. This comes amid mounting pressure from several Republican lawmakers to release the files, along with support from House Democrats. We know that when the House Democrats added a new member when they got back in session, that kind of tipped the scales over having enough votes to compel the Department of Justice to release it. However, that bill to release those files, while it is expected to have enough votes in the House to pass, it remains unclear if it can make it through the Senate, Tony P.
What was interesting on the Sunday shows this weekend, John Barrasso, who's one of the top Barrassi's, the new whip of the Senate for the Republicans, he was very non-committal about having an actual tangible vote in the Senate. He said, very rough quotes here, we're going to analyze it, we're going to look at the bill, make sure there aren't certain traps inside of it or any inadvertent releases and that hurt people that aren't guilty, kind of similar to what President Trump was saying months ago. So John Barrasso, the whip, who knows those votes, again, the whip, just for people so you know, they're the ones who calculate the votes when a vote is up for a bill or resolution like this to know if the numbers and the math is mathing. Well, John Barrasso is saying, we're going to take a look at it and analyze it. I'm not saying it's not going to pass, but it may take a while for it to go through because there are some members of the Senate. It's a more deliberative body. There's more moderates in there. It isn't as exposed to the MAGA winds of change that are going on. If you see Marjorie Taylor Greene, for example, has been a major part of that. The House votes a lot quicker because there's a lot more velocity in some of the changing views and the rhetoric. So, again, that's going to be a big part of this, what happens in the Senate. Because, again, the Senate was a big reason why we didn't get a shutdown for so long. The Senate is where this deal got brokered. So this could potentially be the same situation. Are there potential amendments that happen in the Senate when this thing passes in the House tomorrow or the day after? It's going to be fascinating.
We will watch and we will see, and we will have updates coming up tomorrow night, of course. But in the meantime, Tony P., it is now 9:08. Let's talk about what you were watching today, shall we?
We have a lot of things today. This is maybe one of my best rundowns in a while, my friend. So get out for the headlines, just for the diversity of them. Starting, we have folks in the international world. The United Nations Security Council approved a U.S. drafted resolution today supporting President Trump's Gaza stabilization plan after days of intense negotiation. The measure authorizes an international security and humanitarian force to operate inside Gaza, secure aid corridors, and help prepare the territory for a transitional governing authority. It passed with support from key allies and abstentions from Russia and China, marking the strongest international backing yet of the administration-specific approach. The acting head of FEMA, David Richardson, today resigned after only 6 months in the role. His departure follows heavy criticism over the agency's response to this year's hurricanes and wildfires, including confusion about evacuation orders and delays in distributing emergency aid. FEMA officials said Richardson stepped down after internal disagreements about disaster response strategy, and the White House is expected to name an interim leader shortly. And President Trump confirmed today he will support the sale of F-35 fighter jets to Saudi Arabia, a decision that could shift the military balance in the Middle East. The sale would give the kingdom access to one of the world's most advanced combat aircraft. Israel expressed concern about preserving its regional air superiority edge, while U.S. analysts say the deal could deepen counterterrorism ties, but may heighten regional tensions potentially. Turning to the business world, Jeff Bezos is returning to an operational leadership role as co-CEO of Project Prometheus, a new artificial intelligence company that has raised more than $6 billion already. The startup will apply AI tools across aerospace, manufacturing, automotive engineering, and advanced computing. It marks Bezos' first hands-on executive position since leaving Amazon's leadership. And Amazon today has partnered with Ford to launch a new digital car buying marketplace. Shoppers in Los Angeles, Seattle, and Dallas can now browse, finance, and schedule pickup for certified pre-owned Ford vehicles directly through Amazon Autos. Industry analysts say the initiative pushes car buying further online and could reshape how dealerships operate. That's a very strong union and lobby here in D.C., so watch out for that. In entertainment, Tom Cruise received an honorary Oscar at the Governor's Award last night, the first Academy Award of his career. Cruise thanked collaborators from across 4 decades and spoke about the power of movies to unite people, drawing an extended standing ovation from the audience. Also in the entertainment world, Christian Bale is reportedly in early talks to join Michael Mann's long-awaited Heat 2. We talked about this in the remake section on Friday night, potentially starring alongside Leonardo DiCaprio. Bale's involvement would significantly raise the profile of the project, which blends prequel and sequel storylines from Mann's best-selling novel. On social media, the estate of O.J. Simpson acknowledged a creditor claim of roughly $58 million from the family of Ron Goldman. The estate confirmed it plans to sell Simpson's memorabilia and personal items to help satisfy the decades-old civil judgment. And 2 viral formats are dominating feeds this week. The jump and reveal trend features creators leaping or ducking out of the frame before cutting to a surprising transformation, while the unexpected skills format showcases someone doing an ordinary task before switching to a hidden talent. Both are quickly spreading across TikTok and Instagram with hundreds of millions of views already. And finally tonight, a warm story out of New Mexico. A community-run astronomy program is bringing donated telescopes to remote towns and schoolyards, turning parks into pop-up observatories. Families gathered to view the moon and planets up close, and organizers say the project has sparked curiosity and connection in communities that rarely get access to science and programming. I think that's wonderful because we don't read enough. We don't get to touch grass enough or touch the desert if you're out in New Mexico. But you don't get to do that enough, and I think this is wonderful for kids. Astronomy is the only science that I didn't fail in.
Okay.
So I would say for a lot of, kind of creative right side brain people, this would be great for them as well. So I think it's a wonderful thing to introduce science through this type of thing.
I want to go back to this guy right there because remember, I mean, okay, here's the debate. Is an honorary Oscar the same thing as winning an Oscar? Jim Loke's shaking his head right off camera right now.
I'm with him on
Look, the man is doing more single-handedly to save in-person cinema than probably anyone else out there. On the other hand, it has been, I think he was nominated for an acting Oscar for...
4 times.
4 times he was nominated for acting.
Yes,
I know. Born on the 4th of July
Jerry
earned
Maguire.
him 1. Jerry Maguire earned him 1.
It was Steel Magnolias.
Magnolia. Okay, that was
Magnolia.
another supporting actor nomination.
Yes, I think he's in 1 more after that, but he
Since
should have
then,
won
though,
Maguire.
he's definitely gone much harder into the action. I know that they are adding a stunt category Oscar. That could be his other sure bet for one. But let us know what you think. You can always jump in the comment section on YouTube. I mentioned Jim Loke. Like I said, he's standing right there, right off camera, and that's because coming up next, he's going to share a sneak peek at his sit-down, his one-on-one with the Virginia Governor-elect, Abigail Spanberger. We'll have that and more coming up on the other side of the break. All right, welcome back to the Live Zone Primetime on this Monday night. It's been almost 2 weeks since Virginia voters picked Abigail Spanberger as the Commonwealth's next governor, and she has been hard at work on the transition process ever since. Today, though, she took some time from her busy schedule to sit down with our very own Jim Loke, who right now is taller than Tony P, and I got to readjust this shot. Because
this is like our cold
he is
open, like
joining us live. Yeah, this is the beauty of live TV,
Exactly.
guys.
It is.
It's
It's
me
so
trying
nice.
to figure out what the heck I'm doing here. Because, as you know,
So
it
real
is
and
a short
authentic.
working. Take like one step forward a little bit. There you go.
the
Look,
lights.
I want to make sure you guys get the lighting you
that's
deserve.
exactly.
Jim, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So let me ask you this. So in your interview today, what do you think is one of the biggest concerns, or I'd say biggest points that the governor-elect wants to get done in her first, let's call it 100 days, you think?
Well, and it's funny you say that because this is going to be a two-parter, and we
Beautiful.
start tonight looking at what happened since the election 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Affordability was a big thing. And keep in mind, that was a big issue that really won President Trump the election in 2024 because Democrats, a lot of people in the Biden administration, didn't seem to take that seriously.
No.
When you look at the race we just saw run in Virginia, I think the perception was the Republicans didn't really seem to make that an issue. Winsome Earl Sears really leaned into a lot of the social issues, the trans issues in Northern Virginia.
Yeah.
But the reality is, affordability was something that resonated so much across the Commonwealth. If you look at the map, where what was red kind of went blue, the entire Commonwealth, places that voted for President Trump several times went heavily for Abigail Spanberger.
Oh, across the board. And when you look at her, I think just like, presence with the transition, how is she, navigating that? Is it a lot of initial meetings? Is she getting her cabinet put together? How does she feel about that process?
That's how you do it. I mean, you do a lot of those meetings, and you speak with a lot of people along the way. The transition team, which is interesting, there are two former Republican members of Congress who both were defeated, but they're a part of the transition team. Barbara Comstock,
Right.
who represented the 10th District, she was defeated by Jennifer Wexton a number of years ago.
Right.
And then Denver Riggleman, who was a founding member of the Freedom Caucus, down a little bit south of the Richmond area. He lost his seat in a Republican primary, particularly because he officiated the same-sex marriage of one of the staffers, and that was enough.
right.
But they both joined Team Spanberger. So yeah, that's the focus right now. And I think what's interesting, and it'll kind of go to what you're about to hear from her, is when you look at the question I had for her really was, she was once voted or determined to be one of the most bipartisan members of Congress.
Right.
If you have a Democratic lieutenant governor, a Democratic attorney general, and Democrats picked up 13 seats in the House of Delegates, do you really need to be bipartisan? Well, this is what she had to say about that.
People who multiple times over chose to put their faith and their trust in President Trump, and perhaps always with Republicans, or maybe specific to him, in 2025 elected to vote for me. And what I see in that reality is that I have an enormous responsibility to be honest with people about the challenges ahead, to be relentless in pursuing policies that I know will positively impact them and their lives.
And one of the big affordability issues has been the car tax in Virginia, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
something Winsome Earl Sears said from the get-go, we're going to get rid of the tax. But what struck me about that, Tony, was she went heavily in it briefly, but you never heard it during the general election campaign. And I think if
Right.
you bring up things like that on the campaign trail, affordability, that resonates with a lot of voters. Now, I did ask months ago, Spanberger said she liked the idea as well, but her approach has been, what do we replace that money with? And that's going to be the
Right.
challenge for Democrats if they want to get rid of it. Glenn Youngkin got rid of the grocery tax, which was a big issue in his race against Terry McAuliffe. The question is, will the car tax be next to go? Spanberger did not lean into that heavily as an issue, but I think that would be something that if she were able to do it, that would be a signature issue. I think a lot of Virginians would remember.
And it'd be
her for.
tangible and quick.
Yeah, but again, you got to find a way to replace. It's a lot
Exactly.
of money you're leaving
Yeah.
on the
State's
table.
different.
Let me ask you, Jim, you mentioned about that bipartisanship and reaching across the aisle. Did she talk about redistricting at all? Because obviously that was a huge thing going into this election and now coming out of it too.
Well, she knows this is one of the first things that the General Assembly is going to take up when she gets there. What was an interesting twist was when I talked with Chuck Todd a couple of weeks ago. Spanberger did not, on the campaign trail, I believe Tom Fitzgerald at one point spoke with her about the idea of redistricting. It wasn't something that she was leaning into, and that's what a lot of Democrats are saying. Hey, look, We're seeing that happen elsewhere. What precedent do you set? But the
Right.
governor is sort of out of the process now, because this is something done on the legislative level. So even as they have these the redistricting commissions, this is something that she's more or less not going to be involved with. Todd, though, told me when I talked to him right before the election, she might the governor-elect might be a little disappointed in that some priorities may have to take a back seat to redistricting. But the reality is, it's being done elsewhere right now, and this is
Right.
one of the reasons why you're seeing it done in Virginia, Maryland. That's up for discussion.
That's coming
too.
up the
Yeah.
works right now.
Yeah.
Now, does the governor-elect feel that she's being supported well by the outgoing governor, Glenn Youngkin, and his administration, or are there some hurdles that are still being worked through?
They met today.
I'm glad you asked. This was from a little while. This is from last week.
Right, it's a beautiful
The video
place.
there. Yeah. And that's a great moment because you see that,
Yep.
and it's the peaceful transfer of power.
Exactly.
Which we don't see a lot in D.C. these days.
No.
But in that case there, they met. It was very cordial, but a couple of days ago, the governor-elect had put out a public letter saying to the University of Virginia Board of Visitors, hey, look, I'm going to be governor in 61 days. Don't make moves on appointing a president until I get my people that I may nominate on the board as well. Governor Youngkin was not happy with that because the governor said, hey, there's only one governor at a time. So does that mean he's going to put out, we may see movement on a president at UVA? Because remember, Tony and Chris, this whole thing is about the previous president, President Ryan, if he was playing ball with the Trump administration when it came to
Right.
certain benchmarks, Ryan, to his part, put out a lengthy letter detailing what led up to his dismissal and his resignation. So, I mean, it's a messy situation at UVA, but I think when you look at if there's a mandate, it's hard to argue that there isn't a mandate for Governor-elect Spanberger here. This was not a narrow victory by any stretch of the imagination, but Glenn Youngkin is still the governor, and this is his purview for the next 60, 61 days.
And around things like affordability, talk about the car tax,
Yeah.
right? Are there things around things like healthcare, education was a big part of this
Yeah.
election, especially up in the Nova region of the state. Is the governor-elect focusing on some of those issues with education and more the social policy, or is she really focusing more on specific the affordability crisis?
So something you said early on, we asked you about 100 days, and I said, I always wonder why is that such it's an arbitrary number,
It is.
right? So I asked her, are you focusing on that? And she said they're going to put out a plan, what they want to accomplish in 100 days. Because at this point now, you have to work with the legislature, you have to work with the House of Delegates and the Senate to see what you can put out there that will pass. What might face resistance? Because if you're a governor, you want things to run smoothly those first 100 days.
Yep.
You don't want your key agenda points to be held up in bureaucracy. Right. So we're going to see if what those priorities will be. She didn't really lay out specifically what day one would, because a lot of that is in the hands of the legislature.
Right, and it's 2 years, 2-year budgets, and
Yeah.
again, that legislature is part-time.
Yeah.
So they're not always going to be in, like it's the U.S. Congress,
Right.
some of the larger states that
Well,
have...
Congress isn't in full time either.
That's
if
true.
If you think about the grand scheme of things.
That's a good point on a
Yeah,
relative
true.
scale.
Very true.
Yeah. But yeah, so tonight we'll be focusing on really what got her to this point, and then tomorrow we'll continue with the next 100 days. Although we should point out, this is what I love about this. You can watch the full interview on Fox Local. You
Fox
can watch
Local.
the full thing
Beautiful.
now.
Oh, no way.
You don't have to
Right-
wait.
right there.
That's
Exactly.
the beauty of on-demand Fox Local.
They're
right?
Exactly.
I believe they're uploading it right now.
Yes.
as we speak.
That's what I love.
It's
to
buffering.
hear.
Just wait.
Yes.
Exactly.
Wait,
Yeah.
there's
Jim
more.
Loke, thank you so much for spending some time with us here
Anytime, guys.
tonight.
Thank you,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah.
All right.
Always a pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Awesome interview, my friend.
See you soon.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Commanders and whether it's time to throw in the towel on the season. In the
Slowly we go
meantime, in
down.
case you're interested, the Dallas Cowboys playing right now. They're up 17-6 Monday Night
Gee, I'm
Football
shocked by that one.
over the Oakland Raiders. Las Vegas.
Vegas.
Raiders.
I did that.
And they
Living
still
in the
lose.
past, man.
Yeah.
I'm
They
living
still
in the
lose, no matter what
past.
city they're in.
I know. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Jim Loke, thank you for joining us. We'll be right back.
In my
right, welcome back to the Live Zone Primetime. We're no longer Jim Loke going one-on-one, so I'm gonna drop that little banner right
Jim
there.
back.
Lean into the camera a little bit.
Scoot
Scoot your chair in a little bit. Scoot your chair. When we move the chairs out, we have to reframe the shots, but you know what? I forgot to do that. All right, it is now 9:27 on this Monday night. Monday Night Football, we mentioned that.
Yep.
We also do have to talk about the Commanders, though, Tony.
Whether
you like it or not, because it was kind of ugly yesterday in Madrid. The question some fans of the Burgundy and Gold now debating, is it time to start focusing on next season already? Listen, I know the season isn't even over yet, but is it time to start focusing on next season and give up on the current one? The team dropped their sixth straight on Sunday in Madrid. They lost to Miami in overtime. Next up, the team gets a week off. They've got a bye week this coming Sunday. Then the Sunday after that, the Sunday after Thanksgiving, they will be back in prime time taking on the AFC West leading 9-2 Broncos. Oof. Now, there is no word whether Jaden Daniels will be back in time for that game. But the question is, and the question I have for you, Tony P, should they even bring him back at this time? At this point, is it worth it to bring him back, risk injury?
Yeah.
Or should they just really focus on protecting their players, focusing on the future? I hate to say tanking, but playing for the draft pick. They clearly need some help on defense.
That your last point convinced me in a lot of ways, because part of me thinks, hey, you want to maybe, if you can win if they can lose 6 in a row, they can win 4 or 5 in a row. And maybe not only do they get some momentum heading into the offseason, maybe they come within a whisker of making the playoffs so they can get a little bit of energy going into the offseason that can motivate a team to do really well next year, especially dovetailing with the NFC Championship appearance just last year. But Jaden Daniels is your biggest asset. He is an incredible passer. He has both the running attack and the accuracy and the composure. He is truly one of the most just gifted, just mature quarterbacks. He doesn't go out at all. He's like focused on his craft. He has Brady in his 10th year level of focus. The worst thing you can do right now is decrease his confidence. And you bring him back with a team that's depleted on defense and on offense. Mm-hmm. The weapons aren't fully there. The running game's a little spotty. The defense, again, couldn't stop a cold the last 6 games. You let him rest. And I do think a Marcus Mariota can win you 3 or 4 games to close out the year to give you the confidence that you need to go into the offseason.
But that's the debate that I have. Shut Jaden down for the year. More games you win, the further you drop down in the draft. So that's where I say, you know, I'm not necessarily advocating tanking and throwing the season. But on the other hand, we've seen teams, you know, you get the top pick that way. They don't necessarily need the top pick. They can make some moves. They've already made some moves in the offseason.
They have. They're really good in free agency.
Impact. Yes. True. Now, they did cut their kicker today. Matt Gay, he missed 2 yesterday. He was 13 or 19. Yeah, it would have been the difference. But, I mean, this game was basically all field goals at that point.
It was. Yeah, the offense was sputtering. It was actually a decent defensive game.
Yeah, well, it was Dan Quinn's first game calling the plays on defense after, you know, kind of reevaluating after the last week's loss and the week before that's loss. Do you think there's any other major changes that need to happen while they've got this bye, obviously? Right. Any other major changes that you? I mean,
people first need to get healthy. That's the biggest thing. I mean, on defense, we have a couple players that are down for the count for the whole year. I mean, Luke McCaffrey's not going to be coming back with that collarbone injury, so. In terms of the bye, I mean, I think the offensive scheme, now they're looking at defense, we've changed that with the play calling. It did show some pretty solid numbers. Now I think we have to figure out, okay, the offensive scheme for the rest of the year, because you're going to keep Marcus Mariota most likely in a quarterback. How do you play to his strengths? He is not as fast per se as Jaden Daniels, or I would say, you know, agile in the pocket. So you do a lot of rollouts for him. Is your whole game plan based on play action? Are you more of a run-first team for the rest of the year? Do you do a lot of screens, which he did a lot in Tennessee? He was great with those kind of wide receiver screens, a lot of tight end, quick outs. That's how he did really well for his first 2 years in Tennessee when he was the 2nd overall pick. So do you play to those strengths when he was really doing well? And I think you have to do that because now this is his team. the rest of the
Yeah.
year, basically. So I think you have to redesign the scheme to make it quicker, maybe more no huddles, more play action to get people spread out. You have Debo Samuel. You have Zach Ertz still, who's a great security blanket. How do you utilize him in terms of play action as well as some, I would say, what they call spacing routes in the middle of the field? You just kind of dump it off on second down, get those chains moving.
Why I love Tony
I think
P,
you
though.
have to start. Thank you. I think you have to start playing with the formations on offense. Get the ball moving quicker. What they call velocity. Just like boom, quick passes, rollouts, naked bootlegs. Whatever you have to do to get Marcus Mariota out of the pocket, to scan the field, and not go to that first option, but second and third options down the field to keep drives alive. The biggest thing about this team is they cannot keep the drive alive. They get themselves in 2nd and 8, 2nd and 7.
Yeah, basically
into
third down
3s.
is an automatic first down for the other team.
Right. It's ridiculous.
So, A, get you a guy who can do both. He's talking politics and he's talking sports. I love that about you.
Thank you, thank you.
Two,
You too, my friend. Listen, you were also very knowledgeable.
well, I struggle with this too because obviously they could end up playing spoiler for other teams as a result. They face the Eagles, who are sitting in first place currently, the NFC
course, thinking
East,
of
but they're
yourself
not.
with that one.
Look, admittedly, yes, obviously, I grew up in Philadelphia. I remain a fan of the Birds, but the Eagles, their last 2 games have been very weak on offense. They have not seen the production that they had been. So their defense has saved them, admittedly, especially last night against the Lions. So, but the Commanders, you never know which team you're facing sometimes. And remember, we saw some of that last year against the Eagles as well. So they could end up impacting that season a little later. Same for Dallas. Dallas currently up 17-6 with 1:20 left in the second quarter. So then you're looking at a team just playing spoiler. What I will be fascinated to watch, especially this season, is remember Hard Knocks coming up in just a couple weeks is going to be focused on the NFC East.
That's
so
right.
we're going to see a lot of these behind-the-scenes discussions, I'm sure, happening. But remember, Jaden Daniels has been hurt like 3 times already this season.
Yeah, and his whole entire receiving core has been hurt. I mean, Luke McCaffrey.
But see, that goes in. We don't have much time left. We got to get to a commercial break, and then we're gonna talk to Rob Shear from Comfort Cases on the other side of this break. I want you to stay tuned for that. But the last thing I'll say, and I brought this up before, is Josh Harris has kind of a history here, and Eagles fans, specifically not Eagles fans, Sixers fans will tell you, because Josh Harris is also part of that ownership group. And in the past, they had a couple star players. They had Joel Embiid. They had Ben Simmons for a little while. And what the team did is they were in a rush to hopefully make it to a championship, and they brought in a lot of veterans to surround this young, hot talent with. And a lot of those veterans struggled with injuries. They struggled staying healthy, and the team never performed the way that fans hoped they would. They never lived up to the expectations that people had in place for them. And I would hate to see that happen for this group of Commanders as well.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think they have a young enough core where, especially offensively, with Luke McCaffrey, who's starting to come into his own. Debo is still relatively.
Is he out for the
decent
season?
age.
I don't remember.
I think he's on. I think it's wait and see.
Yeah.
But again, you have Terry McLaurin again. He's just been injured. He's got a long contract. He's young. Again, even Debo is relative decent. Decent in middle age in game.
Zach Ertz is on. I'm pretty sure the Commanders, when they played Green Bay, there was a stat that it was the oldest average team. The Commanders have the oldest average team. And again, we're only talking like 28.6 years old.
Right.
But Green Bay had the youngest on average team. So
you need speed.
We'll see how it all plays out. Bye week this week, and then they take on the Denver Broncos in another primetime matchup. That's going to be a Sunday night game unless it gets flexed out for some reason. But we'll talk about this much more in the weeks ahead. In the meantime, we are going to take another quick break, and then on the other side of that, we are going to talk about the local man, Rob Shear from Comfort Cases, and why he's in a new episode of an HBO Max docu-series. New episode drops tomorrow night. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
I've lived a very fulfilled life. But without a doubt, the highlight is now. Two men having a child through surrogacy.
Quem é essa princesa aqui? Quem é? Quem é?
Existe o jeito ideal de ser uma família pra mim.
You see those two pink lines and your life has changed forever.
A melhor forma de eu aprender é explorar muitas maneiras de se enxergar uma família.
In my house, and the boss is my grandma.
L'amore é amore, basta, não se discute.
Eu acho que vai ser difícil dar tchau pra eles.
You like it?
How does it feel to love a country that doesn't love you back?
What was the birth like?
What advice do you have for me?
When there is love, that is a family.
There are lots of amazing foster parents out there.
To me, it was such a miracle that this child could be born.
We did this together. She made it, I baked them, you know.
I hope she feels all the feelings. Like, I hope she has some amount of sadness that she didn't have a dad.
Family to me is home.
So that was part of the trailer for the new HBO Max docu-series. It's called Somewhat Familiar. It's a powerful 8-part series that explores what family truly means. The series is hosted by Pedro Andrade, and it highlights how different situations and cultures influence family building. It also explores the diverse formations all around the world. So episode 5 drops tomorrow morning on HBO Max, and it features the DMV's own Rob Scheer. And anyone familiar with Fox 5, anyone familiar with Good Day DC will recognize that name because his organization, Comfort Cases, is featured in this series. First, though, Rob joins us live now on the Live Zone Primetime to talk about his episode, the organization, and much more. Rob, thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Chris, it's great to hear your voice. Thank you, my friend.
Likewise, and thank you so much for joining us. So, first and foremost, talk to us a little bit, for anyone out there who doesn't know, what Comfort Cases is.
Well, first of all, I have to give Fox a big shout out because it was 10 years ago, just a couple of months ago, that Holly actually broke our story and started to talk about our organization that was already 3 years old. See, we are an organization that's now international where we give hope and dignity to kids who enter our foster care system. Right now, we're looking at about 1 child every 2 minutes, 700 a day that enter the system, and the majority of the kids are handed a trash bag. See, I know that firsthand. I grew up in the system. These 5 amazing humans behind me on the wall all came from foster care. So we know what that was, and we wanted to change it, so we started handing out backpacks with all the essential items.
And Rob, this is a very personal topic for you, obviously, because you not only have foster children, you have adopted children, but you went through this yourself as well.
Yeah, I actually entered the system at the age of 12 in the DMV. And then, like so many kids within our foster care system, at the age of 18, in the fall of 1984, I actually aged out of foster care in the DMV. And instead of someone being there to catch me, they handed me my trash bag, and I literally became homeless on the streets my entire senior year of high school. See, that is what we see with kids who are entering our system. So that was me.
When you look at, all the, first of all, it's just an honor to meet you and just all the incredible work you've done. I've heard all the stuff, through social media and through media. Just want to give you huge kudos for all the work you do. Let me ask you like a policy question. So when you look at this entire system, what do you think are maybe 2 or 3 of the major holes that you guys deal with every day that we need to address it at the federal and the state level? We just saw the president sign an executive order about foster care. We don't know what that's going to look like, but what does it have to look like to really make the system work?
Well, for me, it's the thing that I've been saying to time and time again. Everyone who's involved in the well-being of a child needs to come to the table. And that's what we don't do. I don't see that in our country. I hear about it. And by the way, as a public speaker, I've been to almost every state. Last year, I spent 189 nights traveling the country to educate people about comfort cases and about kids who are entering foster care. And what I see that we need to do immediately is, number one, listen, read all you want to read, but what we have to do is we have to set these kids up for financial success. Simple as that. When a child enters foster care, when there's a stipend that is given, we need to take a portion of that stipend and put it in an interest-bearing savings account when that child does age out, so they can have a net. First month down for a rent. Kids who age out of our systems, most of the kids receive zero. The next thing we have to do is we have to open up our education pathways, and I do not mean pay tuition only. We need to open up our trade schools. We need to make sure that that child who enters foster care, and by the way, they enter because of a choice that someone else made, we have to make the choice that when that child does what they need to do to be accepted to an Ivy League school, to be accepted to the local college, a community college, a trade school, that we open up those pathways and we support them. That's where we lack. And by the way, you've got to read the statistics. I mean, we literally have close to 80% of our death row inmates that were in foster care or touched by foster care. If that doesn't tell you as a society that we have a system that is shattered, nothing else will, my friend.
Absolutely. And when you look at the journey of building this organization, what to you is the significance behind the case, behind the backpack that really connects to these young people when they're coming through the system? What is the importance of that, and where did that start from?
Well, I have to tell you, I'm actually a banker by trade. I was a banker for 28 years. I come from the .com world. I'm a taker. And to be involved in the .org world where we are givers, it is a whole new life experience. See, the fact is, I don't have a job. I have a purpose. And my purpose is to make sure that when children enter foster care, that they are seen, that they are loved, and that they are heard. I know it. I see it in my children's eyes. I see it in the eyes of kids all over the country. And by the way, now all over the world, because we have expanded in the UK, heading to Canada this next year. This is what kids say to me all the time. They say, Mr. Rob, why? I say, why what? And they said, why did somebody pack this backpack with new pajamas, toiletries, gave me a book, a stuffy, a blankie? Why did they do this? I tell the kids, as I tell every single person who's listening in tonight, viewing in, don't forget, you do not have to know someone to love someone. And that's what I tell these kids. And by the way, for all of us who say invest in a child, you invest in their future, stop lying to children. When we invest in children, we invest in our future, your viewers' future, because they are our leaders of tomorrow.
I could not agree more.
No question.
Yep.
So Rob, how did you get to be a part of this documentary? How did they hear your story? How did you end up linking up with Pedro? And what can you tell us about the episode that's going to drop at 3 a.m. Tuesday morning?
I know, at 3 a.m. And listen to this. It's so crazy. I haven't even watched it. Okay.
Wow.
Same trailer that you saw, I saw. I have that much belief in Pedro, first of all. But, we actually were connected by another mutual friend. And then, my team, of course, got involved. And Pedro and I actually happen to have the same agency that reps us. And so it was an easy fit. It was a great fit. Pedro and his team came out. It was in December of last year. And we filmed for, 3 or 4 days here in the Montgomery County area. We take you around some of our stomping places, which is the local butcher shop, the local Italian shop, and then they brought him to the shear farm and, got to be with our kids. I wish all of my kids were there. My one son was away, but, 4 of our 5 kids were able to be involved in it. And then they got to hear about our charity. And to me, if you give me an opportunity and a platform to talk about kids who are in foster care, let me tell you something. I'm going to talk about it because that's what we all should be talking about. Because kids in foster care, we've shown this. They don't belong to you. They don't belong to me. These kids belong to us. They belong to us. So Pedro helped me energize that platform, and I'm so happy and so thankful to HBO Max and Pedro for that.
What role do you think not just traditional media, but streaming and social media content can play in advancing the cause of foster care and improving it and really bringing dignity and opportunity to these kids that need it so much?
The thing is that, I get asked this question quite often, and my one fear that I have, that I see as I have now been, indoctrinated into the nonprofit world, I just don't feel we work together enough. I truly feel that there are so many strong organizations within our country that if we really all came together, could you imagine what we could solve? I mean, I always say this all the time. If you pick that low-hanging fruit from that tree will grow taller. And we have to understand that children in our foster care system, they're worth investing. They're worth us to come together and correct a problem that's been wrong for so many years. But what I want people to walk away from tonight is, number one, to look at families and realize that we're all different. Number two, to realize that children who come into foster care, they're not bad kids. They're not kids who ask to go into the system. They go in the system because of choices other people made. But the third thing I want you to take away is change your vocabulary. Every single one of us. Every single time I heard someone say foster kid, or when I was a little kid, calling me a foster kid, why don't you just call me what I am? I'm a kid. I'm a kid who happens to be experiencing foster care. It doesn't define me.
Wow. That is beautifully said.
Yeah, and so Rob, people who watch the episode, they're inspired. They see you here on the Live Zone Primetime and they're inspired. Two things. One, how can they get in touch with your organization if they want to help out? How can they help out? And with the holidays coming up, is there anything special that you're doing to make sure that these kids have a happy holiday season?
Well, people need to understand that, first of all, kids enter the foster care system every single day. We see a higher rate of kids entering the system during the holidays because there's so much unstable within the family structure. But you know what? They can go to comfortcases.org and read about us, learn about us. Right now, I'm my amazing friend, Laura Coates from CNN. Her and I, our second year we've done this. We're coming together. We're collecting coats in the DMV. Last year, we collected over 1,000 coats. This year, we know we're going to topple that number. We already have so many coats at our national center in Gaithersburg, but we're going to take those coats. Laura and I are going to hop into the Comfort Cases van. We're going to drive that beltway, and we're going to It's so many agencies that are supporting our youth who are in foster care. But this year, we're actually spreading it out. We're heading to Atlanta. And that's right. The team at CNN in Atlanta are going to jump in and help us deliver coats to Atlanta. So anytime you have an opportunity to give. But things that you can definitely do for us is, just look us up. $1 ends up to $2. We're 96% volunteer ran. We need your support.
I mean, I would be honored to participate in that.
You've got a new volunteer
any
right
way
here.
I can with my platform. Please let me know. I'd be more. This is a beautiful cause, and just the passion you have behind it is. I know that things have already. You've done some incredible work, and it's going to keep on being incredible because of your attitude. Now you bring just so much joy and passion. I can feel it through the camera here.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And again, thank you for this opportunity. Thanks, Fox, for all the years. We did a 24-hour marathon packing 2,500 backpacks, and Holly was there, and Kevin was there, and Fox was there, and you guys have been there from the very beginning, from when my children were little ones sitting on that couch on Fox 5. And, just as they've grown up and continue to be a part of our life, Fox is our family. And so, we're just so happy to be here.
Well, we appreciate you very much and all that you do and spending some time with us and spreading the good word here tonight on the Live Zone Primetime. Rob Scheer from Comfort Cases. Have a great night. Thank you. And for anyone out there who wants to watch this episode of Somewhat Familiar, it drops tomorrow, 3 a.m. technically, only on HBO Max, and that's where you can see Rob's episode.
Wow.
Tony, doing the Lord's work.
I am blown away. I was blown away by not just the organization when we were researching it today, but just who he is, the passion that you see behind it. Most people don't come from the banking world and give like this. I mean, a lot of people just give through
personal cause.
money, but
like he said, he's been coming on Fox 5 for I've been here for 13 years, and like he said, 10 years since.
Oh yeah.
Highlighting his story with Holly Mars.
And I just love that, that media, and that's why I asked that question, is because media, we're starting to see this whole shift in the economy between attention and more affinity and more community-based media. I think these are the stories that have to be told, not just in linear, but streaming.
You can
social,
check it out
it's got to be told.
HBO Max in the morning. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to change gears a little bit. We're going to end on a little holiday-themed note, because we mentioned we're 10 days from Thanksgiving, and that means another holiday is right around the corner. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the Live Zone Primetime on this Monday night. We do want to get to a little bit of breaking news that we are following right now. This is a live picture from Northeast DC. That's where police say there has been an officer-involved shooting. The area of 47th Place and Nash Street Northeast. Fox 5 Shamari Stone is on his way to the scene. We'll have updates for you coming up tonight on Fox 5 News at 10 and 11. This is just coming in to Fox 5 right now. We don't have a lot of details, but we do have a live picture up right now. Tony P, we're obviously, we ended last week talking about an officer-involved shooting.
Right,
Friday
it's
night
back to back.
in Northwest DC, and now Monday night, another one, this one in Northeast DC. Like I said, we don't have a lot of details right now, but we do have that live picture up. Tony P, it looks like, I'm just looking here, it looks like we're looking at a bus depot. I'm gonna step away for 1 second.
Outside the metro,
You
it
hang
seems
tight.
to me.
We're down to the final 4 minutes of the show. I'm gonna go talk to our assignment desk. Hang tight here.
No worries.
All right, Tony and I are back. You see the camera moving on the screen right now because this is raw behind the scenes footage. So just a warning, if you are just tuned in, we don't know much about this. We do know where it is happening in the area of 47th Place and Nash Street Northeast. According to the Fox 5 assignment desk, I just checked in with them. We are told that no officers were hurt. We don't have any word on a suspect, what led to this officer-involved shooting. But that's what we know right now is that there has been an officer-involved shooting in the area of 47th Place and Nash Street Northeast. Shamari Stone, like I said, on the scene, and we'll have updates coming up on Fox 5 News at 10 and 11, getting started here in just about 2.5 minutes on Fox Local.
Yeah, I mean, this is again, we've had back-to-back in the last 2 episodes here, again, seeing what happened, near the Georgetown, kind of Arlington area on Friday night. Sadly, the person who was involved in that shooting was pronounced dead in the officer-involved shooting, and that was over an issue with a civil protection order going back into the house. The police, made their presence known, and there was the assailant drew a knife, and that's what led to that encounter. We don't know about the case here, but it looks like an incredibly, very, very tough situation, and it's again near a bus depot, near a metro station. So, what encounter led to this? Was it potentially something to do with on the bus, or was it in the metro system that this occurred potentially? We're not sure yet, but it is very, very scary to see 2 instances of violence like this back to back here in the DC area the last couple of days, and it's very, very scary. Again, Shamari's on the scene. They'll do a fantastic job.
We're gonna as they get the camera set up for that next live shot coming up here at the top of the hour. We'll come back on camera right now. In the meantime, hard change of gears, but Tony, we'll try to end on a little bit of a lighter note. Believe it or not, I'm
up here, you morons!
Home Alone.
Come and get me!
Hit November 16th. So that was yesterday, November 16th, 1990, which means it turned 35 years old this year. And in case you're keeping track, that's older than Tony P. This movie has been a holiday tradition for me since it came out in 1990. And this is always the first Christmas movie I watch every year. And I generally watch it on Thanksgiving night. That has been kind of my tradition for a while.
I like that.
Unless I watch
That's very good.
a Thanksgiving movie on Thanksgiving night. Sometimes I watch those ahead of time, leading up to it. But I know we talked recently, you had just watched Fred Claus, so I know you have your own personal favorites. Where does Home Alone rank for you?
Oh, it's top 3.
Top 3.
When you think about
that's what I love
and
to
it wasn't always, because I never really, it grew on me as the years went on. because first of all, I just love the house. I got so enamored with that beautiful house in the Chicago suburbs. I went to see it when I was in Chicago
Tony,
last
we're down
year.
to our final
sorry.
10 seconds
sorry.
here on Fox Local. We'll switch
Yes.
over to Fox 5 News at 10. Shamari Stone will have the latest on that breaking news. We'll finish this conversation here on
Tomorrow.
YouTube. No, here on
Oh,
YouTube.
now
We're still
beautiful.
going.
Oh, right, we
We're
do.
still going, baby.
Right.
Top 3 for Tony P. When did you see it for the first time? How old were
Okay,
you?
so God, this is a great question. I saw it, funny, Thanksgiving night, I think it was like 2007. I think so, I was 9. And I don't know, I had heard, see, I used to be kind of like this kind of renegade kid that never liked the prototypical stuff. And then I switched. And I love the classics.
Yeah.
So this is one of them. And as 1990 got further and further and further away, it's become more of a classic. So like, yep, this is definitely one of the top movies. And I just love the storyline. I love Joe Pesci in it because I'm a huge mafia movie fan. As I grew to love him, I grew to love this movie because it came out the same year as Goodfellas.
Fascinating, isn't it?
Talk about range from Joe Pesci, right?
Talk
to do both these roles.
Range. And not to mention the fact that all his every single time
He
was
didn't swear?
basically him just trying not to swear.
Exactly.
Because if you know
Right.
Joe Pesci, you know.
Oh,
a
watch
little
Casino.
Bit of a foul mouth.
Yes,
so.
a lot of 7 deadly words on there.
Yeah,
but
question.
no, that's a great movie for me.
Absolutely a classic.
I love just all the actors. John Candy makes a cameo in this.
John Candy makes a cameo.
You have John Hurd, the great, I would say, great character actor, but he was really a fantastic just addition to this movie. And then I never thought I liked Home Alone 2. I like that movie too. I like them both.
Just as good. I mean, it stops there for me. But
yeah, Home Alone 3 is nothing.
Thank you, everyone, for spending some time with us here on the Live Zone Primetime. We'll be back tomorrow night. We'll have a lot more time to talk about holiday movies and more. In the meantime, we're going to take you back out to that breaking news in Northeast DC. For Tony P, I'm producer Chris. Thanks so much for spending some time with us tonight.
I'll pick one up when I go out today. Other than that, I'm in good shape.
Was transported to a hospital. No word on that person's condition. We also know that an officer was not hurt, but we're still waiting to get more information on what exactly happened here, and we will bring it to you here first on Fox 5. Back to you in the studio.
I'll pick one up when I go out today. Other than that, I'm in good shape.